Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining us. My name is Ross. I'm one of your friendly product specialists, and we're going to do another Learning with Line 6. And we're going to focus on HX products and building a pedalboard because pedalboards are fun. So we'll do the awkward bit. I hope everyone is safe and well, by the way. Just check the levels, make sure my voice is all right. Forgot to unmute myself last time, or even turn the mic on. The mic is on. I'm unmuted. There's my voice. Hopefully that's coming through okay. Here's the guitar. Turn that up a little bit in the room. If one of you fabulous people can let me know that that is okay, then we'll crack on to the awkward bit where I've got to fill and talk for a minute because there's a little bit of a delay. Hopefully everything is cool and working fine. So this has kind of come from my own little journey of kind of experimenting, and I've been using full helix for a bunch of years now, and it's been great, but I kind of wanted to change things up a little bit and maybe kind of combine HXFX and HX Stomp and add pedals, because I've got a ton of different pedals. We all love pedals, they're fun, you know, all that, and I like building pedalboards, quite honestly. So all working fine. Thank you, Mark. Hope all is good. So we're going to go through that. I'll show you what I've come up with, and we'll go through kind of signal paths, building presets, and kind of what goes where and why this might be not necessarily a better option, but another option over a full helix. So that is what I've built. So we're using one of the Warwick rock boards. We've got an HXFX, got an HX Stomp XL, fabulous fuzz from Thorpe Effects there, that's the veteran. We've got the Hot Rubber Monkey from J-Rocket, and we've got the Andy Timmons JHS. All great pedals. How I've got this running took me a minute. It was kind of a bit of a weird one to design, and that's because of all the different options and things that you can do. So this is just kind of one way, and I've built two presets that do a bunch of different things. So essentially HXFX is acting like a loop switcher, but it's also a Midi controller. And that is, so I've got the AC going through one loop of the HXFX, I've got the Thorpe and the J-Rocket going through another loop of the HXFX, and I can switch between them. That whole thing is in a loop of the HX Stomp XL. Following me so far? Yeah, hopefully. So the guitar's coming in and we're hitting the Stomp XL. That is hitting some stuff there, then going to the loop, coming out and doing all that, and then coming back in, we're hitting an amp model. So HX Stomp is acting like my amp pedal platform, my cab and everything. There's a ton of different ways you can use that. If you're using a power amp or 4-cable method, you can do that too. Absolutely no problem at all. And then I've got some post amp effects in there. So we're kind of sharing the DSP load. I've got a ton of different and a ton of different switching options. So that's kind of how I'm trying to run it. So where would you start with this? Well, it's kind of what do you want to achieve? And in my mind, I've gone through, well, I can build this monster pedal board and have a ton of different drive pedals on there, or different pedals or whatever, switch between them, get a ton of different tonal options and do all this, but I can do that with Helix. What I kind of decided was to use a full Helix floor on a pedal board and then add a ton of different pedals, which of course you don't need to do, because all the drives in there sound great, and I'm using some for this setup as well. It suddenly becomes a really big pedal board, and this is pretty compact. This board's kind of the same size as a Pedal Train Classic 2. So it's not huge, fairly standard size. I can fit a ton of stuff on there. I would normally use HX Stomp with an external wah or expression pedal, but for the purposes of today, I'm using this, symmetry and whatever, boring stuff. So where do you start? What do you want to get out of it? Do you want to maybe use HX Stomp as just a pedal platform and then have a loop and just kick in different pedals in front of an amp or post amp or whatever? Do you want to do this as a 4-cable method thing? What do you want to achieve? So it's just figuring that out, and then understanding what the ins and outs will give you, what the different switching options will give you. For this, like I said, I wanted to just take a board that arguably gave me some different options or more options than a Helix floor without really having to do any extra switching. I can do everything with this that I can do on a Helix floor, just to be different is the long and the short of it. So what goes where? Again, what do you want to achieve? So for this, like I said, I've got HXFX essentially running as my loop switcher, for want of a better term, and that is in a loop in HX Stomp XL. So I've actually got some stuff before that, some modulations and some other effects, and post amp and post HXFX, I've got delays and reverbs and another modulation. So I can take you through that as well. And then you've got to decide what do you want to do as far as the preset goes. What sounds do you want? Where do you want to go? So let's go through what I came up with. Add. There we go. Get me out of the screen. There you go, that's better. So, like I said, this is a signal change. The guitar's coming in up there. Going in, and we're coming into Stomp XL. There. We're going, I'll show you what I've got in the chain. So we're coming into Stomp XL. I've got a phaser. I've got the mutant filter. And then I've got the loop. So at that point, we go out to HXFX. That's just an in and out with effects loop 1 and 2. That's in 1. Those two are in 1. That's in 2. And I can kind of add those to anything really. I'll take you through kind of the presets that I've set up. Then we hit the amp. My personal favorite, the Cali Texas Channel 1. They're the settings. I've got the channel volume to change on Snapshot so I can level things out a little bit. That all looks like that. And I also changed the mic per Snapshot too. So I'm actually using a combination of snapshots. I'm using snapshots on Stomp XL and I'm using snapshots on HXFX. Again, I'll take you through that. And that's what the rest of it looks like. Then I've got a chorus because 80s. I've got a graphic EQ just to give me an extra mid boost. I've got delay, spring reverb, and the main output. Now that is assigned to a foot switch, so that will give me a little bit of a solo boost. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Back into there, and I can turn any of these on or off at will. So what the HXFX is doing, this is changing a programmed snapshots within HXFX, which actually feed MIDI. This here is a MIDI cable, and that's feeding Stomp XL, which is, so I'm not just changing snapshots on HXFX, I'm changing snapshots on Stomp XL as well, which just gives me a ton of different options, a ton of different things that I can do within one thing. So I've basically set up 3 sounds that you can see here, and you see this one, maybe you can't because of the camera. This one's labeled crunch and lead. So running through the sounds real quick that I've got here, just basic clean sound. And then clean with the modulation, so I've added the chorus on there. Then we've got a crunch. If I hit that again, that's going to go to my lead. This pedal switches the loops, so I've got both loops assigned to that, so I'm just switching from these two to this one, and that sounds like that. And I can turn the delay off if I just want it dry. Oop. There you go. So that's on a Midi. These are all running Midi. Simple. Hopefully. Now on that mod, I can basically kind of add anything. So I can switch to a phaser. Or add a filter. Any of these I can boost for solo, or add that mid boost on the end. There we go. So that's the sounds I've set up. So you can see what's going on Stomp XL. What you're not going to see on HXFX is kind of what's going on under the hood. So like I said, these are all set up as snapshots. If I go into the mode there, just do that, then you can see that I've labeled those, so I can just get them from here and then go up a preset or down a preset or whatever. This is the layout I want because I want access to these as well. So on any of these sounds, I want to be able to go. I want to add the Minotaur as a boost. I always like to have an extra boost there, just in case I need a little bit extra. Yeah. Now, when I go to crunch and lead snapshots, what's happening? If I go to the signal flow, you'll see I've got some stuff in here as well. So here's what we've got. So the Minotaur is right at the front. And then I've got a deluxe compressor. Now that is only on snapshot 1 and 2 for my clean sounds. Then I've got FX Loop 1, FX Loop 2, and both of those are going into an air apparent. Now, what is happening here, so on the crunch snapshot, for example, I've got the gain absolutely cranked, tone, and there's the settings, there we are. Right, but if I go to the lead preset, here's what's happening. So you'll see I've taken the gain down, so I've got parameters changing on HXFX here, and you'll see if I go to the amplificator, there's a couple of things that are changing here as well. So I've got clean, you'll see the levels change as I go along. Okay, simple as that. But I'm also, go to the cab, I'm also changing the mic. So I've got the ribbon, a 421 ribbon, and the 67 condenser on there. So they're just programmed to give me the best sound that I think is right for that thing. Comments here, question. Visual board, do I assign the sounds to each foot switch, or do I have to go into the board and edit? The shortboard won't work with this, Jeffrey. If you let me know what you're using, then we should be able to help. There we go. Are we following so far? Hopefully. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So this is arguably a complicated way of doing it, but it just gives me these switches. It's essentially just adding more switches, and I see a ton of people. Hi. I see a ton of people buying extra MIDI controllers, be that whatever brand, whatever format, to kind of do this thing. Obviously, if you're just using Stomp or Stomp XL or HXFX, then you're going to be kind of limited as far as DSP goes. So the bonus of this is I've got all the DSP of the HXFX and all the DSP of the Stomp XL. Or a Stomp if you choose to use the Stomp. You can obviously add any of these to a full helix with a massive pedal board, and you're good to go. So that's kind of pretty much how I've set this up. I do have another preset, which arguably gets even more interesting. Get rid of me. So Let's go to the next one. Right, here we go. So this is kind of, I've gone for more of an 80s thing. Just have a little bit of coffee. I've just noticed, by the way, how dusty this board is. I do apologise. So similar kind of thing, but I've limited this to 3 snapshots. Because I just want clean, crunch, and then lead for this one. So again, each snapshot, you'll see here, with every snapshot, it changes to the relevant snapshot on Stomp XL, which is pretty cool. And then I've still got all these kind of things here. So on any of these snapshots, I can add something, and every time I go back to it, it will be there. So if I'm kind of motoring along, and I go, no, I don't want that, I want that, and then I'm going to add that. Because I want a thicker gain, and then I'm going to switch to the SLO lead. I thought I named these snapshots earlier. Clearly not. Sorry. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. But again, within any of these, I can quickly switch to. So I've got 2 amps in here. Shall I show you that? So it's a similar kind of deal. So it's coming in. I've got nothing there. I've got the HXFX in the loop on here. I'm going into the Jazz Rivet for the clean stuff. Solo lead OD for the dirtier stuff. Because I'm using 2 amps, I've used a separate cab block. And I've actually assigned, this is kind of clever that I've thought of, I mean, it's in there. So I want the ability to just change sounds real quick. And I've talked about this before, where with the stock cabs, the mics make so much of a difference. So I've actually got 2 different microphones on here that I can switch to using that switch, and you'll see I go from the 84 to the 87. So that's what's happening there. I've got a chorus. The Euclidean delay, which I'm trying to get kind of the Luca 3 circular delays. That's what I'm kind of trying to achieve with that one. Yeah, kind of thing. I've got a big hall reverb, and again, my solo button just gives me a little bit of a lift there. It's always good just to kind of have a button assigned to give you more me. That's the kind of thing we want. That's what the actual pedal board looks like. Like I say, again, you can see the snapshots changing. And under the hood for this one, I don't think I put much. Yeah, there's not much. So we've got the poly pitch there. I'll put that on a parallel path just because I want it there. Then we've got the effects loop 1, so I'm only using this loop on this preset. And then gone with the Ampeg Opticomp, just because why not? And that's kind of what it looks like. So this is always kind of a boost. So I've got just a big, thick kind of dirt there. Now, when I go to Snapshot 2 and 3, what I've done, again, because of the snapshot feature in this, you'll see I have actually turned the gain down. So the return level on that and this one is kind of low, just because when it's full up, the pedals at settings as they are, it just becomes really heavy, like way too much gain. So I've brought the return level down, so it just kind of smooths it out a bit, which is really nice. Obviously, I've still got my compressor if I want that instead. And the poly pitch, because why not? Now, if I turn that off and maybe that, so this side of the Thorpe is a treble booster. Turn that off. And this is a fuzz. What I love about snapshots, I can basically, I've just essentially created a new preset there. So if I want to use that for some kind of synth-ish solo, and go back, rocking around on my rhythm sound, I'm going to add that as well just because I can. That's where we started. Change the mic. Just tons of different options without much switching, really. So that's kind of keeping it simple, or as simple as I can. Back to my original preset. So this is something that I would personally use for the vast majority of stuff. And it just covers a lot of ground. What I'll try and do now, take that away, stop screen, I will have a look at the comments in a mo. HXFX. So I'll show you what we've got going on the switching side of things as well. Go to me. Hi everyone. So let's check the comments. Charles says, sounds excellent as usual, Ross. Thank you very much, Charles. Much appreciated. Pixelot, good day. What uses a Stomp and a separate looper pedal. Not too long ago, Donovan, that might be better to think of presets as generic specific pedal boards. Absolutely. So the snapshot thing, and we might kind of, we've talked about snapshots in the Learning with Line 6 a little bit, but there's still a ton of people that are maybe new to HX stuff and don't fully understand it. So we'll look at them again. Just very briefly, yeah, the preset, if you're using snapshots, the preset is essentially just a rig. So you're committing to, you know, an amp and pedals or whatever, and then your snapshot is accessing any one part of that, and as we've seen, controlling parameters as well if you want to. So there might be an amp model that you choose or a particular effect model that you choose. The Air Apparent I've covered before in a separate one, and it just does so many different things. So you might want to use snapshots to actually change parameters without adding multiple instances of that. So yeah, your preset is essentially your rig, pedal board, whatever you want to call it. Snapshots then becomes your preset. So so it's a really cool thing. So yeah, you can absolutely look at it that way, as I do. The Buckster is a combined DSP available using HXFX equal to Helix floor. You can do a comparable number of blocks and or split paths. Well, technically, the Buckster, you technically get more with a Helix floor, just because you're limited amount of blocks. Even combining these, like a HXFX and a Stomp XL together, or a Stomp, you do get less blocks than what are available on Helix Floor. As I've talked about before, I try and, as actually kind of elaborate as this is, it's still fairly simple as far as a signal chain goes. And I've said that to everyone that I've spoke to. If you're getting complicated or bogged down with options and what amp or what pedal, just keep it super simple. Amp, maybe a pedal or two, but only add things specifically if you need them or want them. So you shouldn't have to add things after an amp to fix the problem. I did a Back to Basics stream a little while ago. Go and check that out, and just see what difference the mics make. It's very long-winded, off on a tangent answer. Do apologize, but yeah, it does less blocks. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you're using like 32 blocks in a preset, you probably might be using a few too many, but you do you. So I like the fact that it's still kind of, although I will have less blocks than a Helix Floor would give me, or a Helix Rack, or an LT, it's still fairly simple. I actually don't have that many blocks in the grand scheme of things. I've got a lot of switching options, but not a lot of blocks, if that makes sense. What else we got? Chris, a little bit late, but did I miss how to route the HXFX and HX Stomp together? Yes, Chris Marshall, you did. But I can cover that real quick. Feedbacker in the Helix. Joe, there kind of is one. Not the traditional one, but in the delay. Oh, and I forgot what it's called. Oh, Lord. Duh. 2 secs. Bear with me. Oh. Polysustain. There you go. Go and check out the Polysustain. It's kind of DSP hungry, but it does a similar thing, but not exactly the same. You can get a similar effect. That makes sense. Right, Chris. Sorry, there we go. There you are. You're on camera. So how to hook up HXFX and HX Stomp together. I need to get rid of that screen and add this one again. Ooh, all the screens. Maybe recording. There we go. Right. So Chris, keep up, hopefully. So guitar is coming in here. That's going into the input of Stomp XL. There's different ways you can do this, and I was thinking of how I wanted to do this personally. So seeing the live view there. So for this particular board, I've got guitars coming into Stomp XL. This is kind of, I guess, well, they're both main hubs, confusingly. Guitars coming in, I'm hitting some stuff, and this is the reason I did it this way. Since doing this, I've thought of obviously a different way to do it, but I wanted a phaser and a filter before my drives. So that's where the effects loop comes in. So I'm going through some, so a phaser and the mutant filter, then I'm hitting the loop. That's going into HXFX. That's just a straight in and out. And then I've got these pedals in 2 different effects loops here. The signal chain for this is I'm coming in. So I've got a Minotaur as a front end boost. Then I've got a deluxe comp, which is only on using snapshots on this. And then I've got effects loop 1, effects loop 2. And then the air apparent, which is giving me my crunch sound, and it's acting as kind of a low end tightener upper, or the amp I'm using for this, the Cali Texas Channel 1, that's kind of a very American kind of clean sound. Effects sound great through that, but I just personally prefer them hitting the air apparent. So yeah, that's basically that. So this is kind of acting like a pedal platform for this amp, and then I've got post amp effects. So I could just as easily have Stomp XL going through a loop on HXFX. I could rig this up a ton of different ways. This is just kind of how I thought of rigging it up. Another way you could do it is quite easily use HXFX as your main hub, into the main input of that, Stomp into one of these. All these kind of pre-gain effects that I personally wanted. You don't need to put them pre-gain, I just prefer them there. You can absolutely have in HXFX, you've got enough blocks to mess around with in there. You could have the pedals in loops in HX Stomp. Like I say, when I started talking a lot, you have a ton of different options, so it's just kind of what do you want to achieve, think about the routing possibilities and where you want to go with it, and yeah, how you want to control it. You may be thinking about this and going, well actually just Helix floor makes total sense to me. I don't need extra drive pedals because all the drives or all of the effects or whatever in Helix are absolutely good enough. They're perfectly good enough for me. Like I said, I just wanted to try something different because I like building pedal boards, because I've got pedals and I like them and I'm a geek, so fun times. So hopefully, Chris, that made sense. If I missed anything or you didn't understand anything, just shout. Into what I did miss was HXFX is controlling, so I've got snapshots programmed into HXFX. That's feeding Midi into HX Stomp, changing snapshots on HX Stomp, and also the delay, something I didn't mention earlier, the delay in Stomp XL isn't assigned to a foot switch on Stomp XL per se. It's assigned to foot switch 8, and the getting complicated now. So that delay is actually a MIDI controller which is triggering foot switch 8 on this, which I don't have plugged in, so I can just turn on delay. Simple as that. So I'll try and show you sort of what that looks like as far as the MIDI thing goes. Boom. There we go. Let's check. Feedback awesome. What does I think about Divided by Time Studios? Don't know as a company. I mean, anyone that makes patches or presets, go for your life. Because yeah, some people kind of struggle to find the sound they want. It's a great starting block. Jose, you make a sound with the vibrato, something clear. Most likely, I can try that in a mo. Here we go. So there we are. HXFX. Oh, where's my thing? There we go. Ooh. There we are. Right. Window. Hopefully this is going to show up. So we want to go to Command Center. That's not showing up. Oh. Oops. Oh no. I don't think I can. Oh yeah, there we are. Right. Is that coming up? Sorry people, bear with me. Oh no, it won't come up. Boo. Right, okay. So let's try this a different way. That screen won't come up because I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Parallel path in both HXFX and HX Stomp. Yes, Buckster, there are. There absolutely are. Let me get me out of the way. So yeah, just quickly on that. So I've got delay and reverb in a parallel path there, just because I like it. Going to the signal flow. There's nothing in this preset, but if I go to the next preset, you will see I've got the poly pitch in a parallel path there. So yeah, you can absolutely do multiple parallel paths, which you can do on Helix floor. You just have them on a separate path, basically. But yeah, that's kind of how I've done it here. Get back to that one. Right, so if we go to Command Center, you'll see what's going on. Hopefully that's going to come up. It's not coming up very well. I'm going to put my guitar down. I'm going to do this. What can I... Oh God, people, work's going to hate me. So it's a little prop so you can see it. I'm going to use a Stomp XL, Stomp, just to prop this up. So hopefully you can see it a little better. Yeah, kinda. Maybe. Oh, this is not great. So, right. So here's what the kind of, oh dear. This is what this looks like. So Stomp is fairly explanatory, self-explanatory. Stuff assigned to the different foot switches with Stomp with HXFX. This is what we're looking like. So I did all this on HX Edit, so I've got no instant commands because the Midi is just following. HX Stomp XL is just following the Midi commands from this, but I wanted to do some specific things. So I've got nothing on these because they're assigned to be effects. This is on CC toggle, CC number 56, which is foot switch 8 on Stomp XL. So that's triggering that. And then I've got simple, I've just programmed these to be snapshot 1, 2, 3. And when I press the third one, excuse me, when I press the third one, that then goes to snapshot 4, which is my lead preset. I hope that makes sense. Hopefully. Yeah, so. Yeah, that's kind of that. So that's kind of what I've done with the Midi. This was originally programmed using Midi CC, but I changed it just because I could, for no other reason. More coffee, excuse me. So I'm hoping that makes sense. It's kind of involved, and like I say, it took me a minute to kind of figure it out and figure out what I wanted to achieve from it, but with a ton of different ways to rig things up and get different switching options, this was just one way. It was really easy. It enabled me to do everything I wanted to do, and potentially in a much more compact package. So if I used HXFX and HX Stomp, for example, and maybe just a couple of just like 2 small mini pedals, you can really cram it onto a really small board and get a ton of different options that's considerably smaller than a Helix floor, for example. But going through this, you will absolutely kind of go, well, I'll just get a Helix floor or an LT or a rack and a controller. Absolutely. Like I said, this all stemmed from, what do I want to do? I kind of want to just mess around and build a pedalboard, because why not? And that's kind of that. The MIDI side of stuff, you can keep that simple and just have program changes going from program 1 to program 2, etc., etc. Preset 1 to preset 2. Very easy to do with snapshots. When you get into MIDI CCs, extra program changes and instant commands and more specific stuff, you definitely need the manual because you need the CC numbers. And MIDI programming is not fun, but it's really useful. You can do a ton of stuff. So that's kind of that. No more in the comments. There we go. I think we're about done. I've talked a lot. I've played a bit. Thank you so much for watching. For anyone interested, by the way, the guitar kind of changed it up the last couple of weeks. Guitar is a brand new Yamaha RevStar. This is the RSS20, the standard. It's a fabulous guitar. Does a ton of different things. Just awesome. So go and check these out. There we go. Building pedalboards. If you just have an HXFX, it really is as simple as putting stuff in the loop and assigning that to a foot switch or a snapshot. Simple. Exactly the same with Stomp XL. I've seen a ton of people, and I've used this myself using a Stomp just as a pedal platform, and it works brilliantly. So try that too. There we go. Anyone else popped up? Where's my table? I don't know. Try them both. What I say to anyone wanting to buy a guitar, go and try them. and dry them all. There we go. I think we're done. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Like I say, I hope everyone is safe and well. And we've got another one of these up next week. I believe we have the marvelous Nick Bell up next week, but it may be Tony Campanovo. One of us will be here, same time, same place next week. Thanks again. I'll keep an eye on the comments. Any more questions, fire them away and I'll try and get them answered. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. See you again. Cheers. Bye.